Raising Unicorns.
Harmon Brothers.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Raising Unicorns. Today on the podcast, we have a very special guest, Mark Williams.
Thank you.
So I wanted to bring on Mark to talk a little bit about like the different things that we're facing in this modern era of ad buying. And there's so much that like I think you bring a lot of valuable insight to, and also just like path in marketing that brings a lot of I think experience and insight that people would find really fascinating.
It's time to chat with a legend.
That's legendary.
Gary Vaynerchuk had this interesting story where he talks about early on, Google Ads were kind of this platform where it wasn't necessary for e-commerce. So for him to go and buy words like wine was pretty weird. And he's like, I could buy it for $1 because I was kind of early on and kind of figured it out.
Very blue ocean.
Yeah, very blue ocean. He's like, I figured that stuff out. So part of my success has been being willing to do things that are maybe one step ahead, and that there's a zeitgeist of marketing tactics and methods that works for a time.
Yeah.
And usually what I found was there were a group of people that were doing something that were ahead of the time. And when more people found out about it, it stopped working.
Right. It diluted it.
It stopped working at that point.
Yeah.
So I felt like half the game was like, can you be ahead of what's working before it's working? And guess what? More and more people are more willing to share what's working. But back then, and I think still, there's still some reservation of secrets.
We had a similar thing at Harmon Brothers where we had like this string of successes, 2017, 18, 19, where we were just crushing it. And then there was a strategic decision where we were very closed-lipped about our process, very closed-lipped about how we designed the offer, how we designed the videos, how we tested them, how we like built the campaign structure. And then finally we're like, well, maybe we should make it into a course. And that's when HBU is born.
It's interesting. I know somebody that took your course that now is a successful video agency using the Harmon Brother method. And truthfully, it's like you probably didn't get diluted through people taking the course or lose much money or revenue.
No,
in fact, it may have amplified, right?
I don't think so.
Probably
Yeah.
does.
And like other thing too, I think it like, you know, for me, it was actually pretty cool because I wrote on a bunch of the courses and was like an instructor on a bunch of them. I thought it was super satisfying, like seeing other people like find cool wins.
Totally.
Because a lot of people were actually entrepreneurs too, who were just like, I just got to bootstrap this and muscle it myself. And seeing them, like there was one guy who got like his revenue up from like 50,000 in revenue on this little side project, got it up to 120,000 in just a matter of like a couple months of using some of our courses and techniques. And I'm like, that's the difference from it being like, oh, this is a tiny side gig to be like, maybe this could be my gig, you know, like and him go off and do a small business. And I think that's where he is now, which was super cool.
Yeah.
But like, let's talk a little bit about like, where do you see pitfalls as far as marketers that they're falling subject to, like currently in the market, that they're not really like keen on or cued into those changes that have happened?
Going back to that kind of zeitgeist idea and what's working and what's not working, and things that I've seen most recently is a move towards authenticity after the UGC era. So I think that the consumers, because of, you know, starting with search engine and now ChatGPT and more democratization of information allows people to be more wise and more keen to tactics, right? I'm a big direct response marketer. I believe in like very good copywriting and understanding human emotion. Like I have a fascination in human psychology. That's why I got into marketing. I like people. I'm interested in why people do things what they do.
What makes them tick.
What makes them tick. In college, like all those classes are like logical fallacies and why people talk the way that they do and mind viruses and political things. All that stuff became interesting. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of what marketing is. My belief and opinion on product marketing, and as you look at brands and like advice, and as we're talking about this, it's like, if you have a product that works and truly you stand behind it, you have a bit of an obligation to do a good job of getting it out there.
Yeah.
Because you have something that works and that will make a difference in the market. And if you don't have that, they talk about like salespeople. How can you make them sell better? Have more conviction in the product.
Yeah.
Build more conviction in the product. And how do you do that? Show them that it works.
Yep.
Demonstrate it. So you see what a lot of marketing that's working? It demonstrates it.
We just did an ad for a company, you know, we talked about like Rise Coffee, right? Where it's a narrative, like not face to camera. It's about this woman who's trying to find the perfect cup of coffee that doesn't upset her stomach, right? That like helps her, but still gives her energy, and she can't find it. But there's all these signs that Rise is all around her all the time, but she's just missing it, right? And that one's doing super well for them on long form for YouTube. But it is interesting just because it's different than what we did before, but it still has a lot of those elements where we're using language that people use when they're describing the problem that the Rise Coffee has solved for them because it has the adaptogenic mushrooms in them, But it's using a lot of those tactics where you're demonstrating for people of what it does for people, and like you're using their voice and their tone and you're resonating with them on a more like person to person like selling method. And I think like those methods we still used in the old days of Harmon Brothers when we did Squatty Potty. We still like sourced a lot of our dialogue and jokes from people who were leaving reviews who would talk about the product, or even people in the office who were using it and giving their honest assessment. Because that's how you sell one person to the next. It's like, hey man, you should check out this thing. It's pretty sweet. It does it in this cool way or like just using verbiage that you're like very comfortable with talking with a friend, right? That type of stuff is very valuable, I think, in sales, and I think resonates with people. But it's the package in which it's put in changes all the time,
right.
But it's like crazy. So I think of the how quickly people pick up on like the modes and methods you're advertising and how fatigued they get by certain strategies and certain kind of angles of approach is more rapid than it used to be.
Totally.
So I think that's why, like, as a marketer, I think you always have to kind of be on your toes and always be looking for new angles and new ways to package this that might be fresh or interesting or might not just read immediately as an ad and be dismissed because people are just prone to do that, right?
Yeah. Listen, I've been on the receiving end of nearly every platform whacking me. Google rankings tanked, gone overnight. And they're like, the tactics that you were using and worked, like, we're cool, we're good, that's fine, do it. And they're like, we changed our mind.
Yeah.
So, the lesson there is don't get too addicted to these platforms that make it so easy, and they will continue to. Even down to other tactics like relationships with influencers. They're always coming out with new things with influencers. That's a big channel. The newest one they came out with is like, if you send a product to an influencer, you can actually reserve a certain amount of money until that review is done. You're essentially holding them hostage, right? To get that review. So they've made it much easier, much lower lift, where I'm like, you know what I do? I get an intern or somebody that DMs a bunch of influencers and says, hey, can we send you this product? We'd love for you to take a look at it. No strings attached. That's it.
Yeah.
It's called seeding, right? You drop it in their pocket versus let's hold them hostage and you have to give us this fake coerced review. And on a couple of those, I had somebody that had like 900,000 followers. She reviewed it. She just did it. She put it on there organically, put it in her story and said, yeah, this is a cute, cool product and liked it. And that's what we talked about before is this move towards authenticity and getting people to actually do it because you have a good product and proof. If you can double down on something outside of marketing, just like make a better product, make something that works, make it look better.
Well, I would say like for Harmon Brothers and our historic like kind of successes, I think the ones that we've always had the best success rates with have been exceptional products. Like Purple Mattress is an exceptional product.
Amazing product.
It has
I own one. Love it.
Amazing reviews, like has scientifically proven to reduce aches and pains of 40%, which who can say that about a mattress company, and I think it makes your job easier as a marketer. And so that's why, like, if you start with a good product that has a good customer experience as a base, it's kind of like Paul Strom's like, you got to nail it first and scale it, nail it and scale it. If you nail the product and then you introduce the variable of good marketing with a good product that has a good customer experience, then that's when you're off to the races and you're running, know?
It's interesting to look at products that have or haven't worked and that go through different cycles. There's innovative products, much cooler products that Harmon Brothers has marketed, but there's also kind of the underbelly of drop shippers. And one thing that you can learn from that kind of tactic or the drop shipping world is they can recycle products that once kind of fell off to the wayside by changing the angle. They take like a posture one where it's like, this is for back support, and it suddenly changes to like, they change the angle like, this is great for dating or
help you
like,
with your sleep.
They help you with your sleep, right? They adapt that and change the angle to it. So I look at some products that probably do work. We can talk about the opposite of the spectrum that had a really good product that just, they couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Product marketing fit,
Right.
in the marketplace. And I think that comes down to just what Harmon Brothers does, which is they can bring that opportunity to say, maybe there's a different way to think about this. Maybe there's a different pocket. And I've had that experience myself. That was the first thing that I did. I had a brand that I had started in the health and wellness space again, where I think for 3 months, I burnt like $6,000 to $9,000 trying to dial in this funnel and this product, this angle and the fit. And I kind of discovered within it was a delivery mechanism issue. People had a hard time understanding how to really use it. Imagine an AG1 or even the Lumi deodorant that had kind of that element to it, right? How do I use this? Isn't just for my armpits? Like there was a bit of education there.
Yeah.
And so I figured out I just need a better way for them to wrap their heads around how to use this.
Right.
And it just became a delivery mechanism issue. And I paired it with a different product. Maybe it's just the way that we're delivering it, how you apply it, how you put it on, or what time of day you do that. So all that kind of iteration and adaptation is another tip for what people need to do, is just like try some new things, a lot more iteration. So that's what I'm seeing in the market is more variety, more volume. My advice is like, go in there and don't be a focus group of one. Yeah. We're all focus group. We're like, I wouldn't buy it this way. I wouldn't do this. This wouldn't work for me. And be like, let's try some things, put out in the marketplace. And that's the beauty of all the things we said, negative and positive. Right. The beauty of what we have now are these delivery mechanisms that can allow you to validate ideas quickly.
When we saw that like several times, it's just angle of attack, like not having the right angle of attack. And like we got lucky with like Squatty Potty. They were marketing it as a medical assistant device for people who were liking like cancer wards of like colon cancer and stuff like that. And then they're like, man, this is really hard. This is for like geriatric marketing. It's kind of a weird audience. They're not necessarily on digital, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, this is just a good product to use even if you don't have bowel problems, you know? And then I think the last example was like Lumi, kind of like we were talking about, was like we had people who were kind of confused because there's a tube version of it and they were like, this is deodorant. So it's like just apply it like a lotion, you know? And like that was like just the visual, the pea size, you apply it like a lotion, even just that verbiage totally changed the game of like, oh, okay, I'm just applying it a little differently than I normally do.
As opposed to some hippie product that like is like confusing.
Right. So like those things, and we had to test into them. Even with like Lumi, we tried lots of different angles. It's like, let's just try it as strictly deodorant for stinky teens. Let's try it one for like, oh, kids have smelly feet, like your teens that have smelly feet. And then the one that really took off on them is like they marketed it for private parts. And it was like, you know, this like can change your confidence, you know, in the bedroom because you're never worried about it. Like you
another
feel
angle.
confidence, another angle. But those all worked to varying degrees. But like finding that angle of like the private parts just exploded the brand. Like that, there was a campaign we did that for them that increased the sales of the company by almost 20% with a single campaign. And they were already a big company at that time. Sure. I guess it's a good point. Like, and that you're right. Now it's even easier to iterate and test some of those assumptions and think about different angles of attack at a way higher rate than you could if you were trying to do everything with, you know, a big 6-figure video, right? Or even if you're going to do a 6-figure video, can you try like 7-8 different angles of attack within that script, right?
Totally.
To try and
That's what the chatbook one was, right?
Yeah.
It seems like another angle just baked in.
Yeah. Because we always try to like talk to different audiences in different ways and like, you know, say like, is this you? Is this you? Is this you? You know, kind of thing, and have those as options to test into for intros or for even different variations of the video.
I think what I saw with the Harmon Brothers era where that was working, once the people got to the landing page, it was a bit of a layup. Yeah. You did so much heavy lifting on the ad itself that by the time somebody got there, the purchase portion didn't matter as much. Yeah. The funnel mattered, the landing page mattered, but the ad did so much work that the conversion rates are super high. Yeah. And I think with attention spans, shorter form, it's almost like it's inverted a bit, you know, where it's like, how much can we get across in a short amount of time and then invest more in the landing page experience. Yeah. They have to carry a little bit different weight now.
One of the things we used to do is just put the long form ad on the top of the landing page above the fold. And so even if we ran like 30 or 15 second ads that were really catchy, really interesting, got people to click through, had a high click-through rate, they still had that long form video. Once they kind of made the decision, I'm going to go off platform, look at this product, I can spend 2 or 3 minutes to really understand if I want to read or want to buy this product.
It's a dual asset now. Yeah. It becomes a front end ad and also a VSL.
Yeah, exactly.
On the page.
Exactly.
Which I love.
Yeah. That's the way you differentiate yourself from like just going over to Amazon and buying the same thing. If the product is the same price and they have free shipping plus free returns, you're going to lose almost every time. Right. So it is one of those things where I think as if you're an entrepreneur or someone who's listening to this and like our company, like who are at this stage, like you got to make yourself uncomfortable on some of these things because this is the way you win and you outcompete other people, right? You know, Russell Brunson has this saying of like, it's not the best product that wins, it's the person who can afford to pay the most to acquire a customer. Love it. And I think that that's very true. And you can really see that with like, if with upsells and with the right packaging and the right funnel, you can outcompete other people because you're bidding on the same people. You know, you're targeting the same group of people with adjacent products and you've got to be able to outcompete them somehow, you know, and in a very, like you said, now there's not a lot of blue ocean products on Facebook. Yeah. You have to employ those tactics or use those tactics effectively to even be able to like win and fight in the modern marketplace on Facebook. And it sucks because you're like, oh, but my product's better. But it's like, okay, if your product's better, do that other stuff and you will for sure win if you got a better product and you can drive more value, right?
Totally.
So yeah, I think it's one of those things too where it's like but I built the best product. I shouldn't have to jump through all these hoops.
Very much so. Because it's kind of the artist mindset. And I have friends like this that can't use tactics like that because they're like, it would taint what I have created. It would destroy the thing that I've made here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in theory, the best products they'll stand out. They'll be the Teslas.
Right.
But that's really, really hard. I have a friend that he'll build products for companies. And previously he's like, I'll build this stuff for them and they'll have a certain budget. And then they go out to do marketing and they don't have much left in the tank and they go, it didn't work. I thought this was a really good product. Like, what's going on?
It was going to work. It was a shoo-in.
And now he's like, whatever your product budget is what your marketing budget is as well, or we don't work together. There has to be enough promotion behind it. So yeah, there's a balance, obviously, and things can get too cringy and there's a line and you can overdo it and people can be scammy. But I err on the side of saying, let's think about ways that we can provide value to the customer in the same way that your wife had that experience.
Well, I think for me, because I came up through e-commerce, like we worked at Orabrush originally, where we just had a one SKU product where we were just like, you got to sell this one thing, test out everything you possibly can, one product, one funnel, that was it. Like it was like 3 years in until we introduced the foam like spray that goes on the tongue cleaner. It's basically toothpaste for, so it was literally a one SKU company. It was very informative in the sense that like you were just focused on doing that one thing and there was a minimal amount of variables you can control or you could change, but you knew exactly what had impact. You knew what the colors of the buy button did to it. That's how granular it got back in the day, is like, but like you said, it's just like you got to focus in on changing what you can change in a meaningful way. It's amazing how much it can change by tweaking, a certain element. The first 5 seconds of a video, obviously the most important, but like we would test hook after hook after hook, and it'd be crazy. The differential between the worst performer and the best performer would be like an order of magnitude better. And I think one of the things that I would say for me, because I came up through that environment, I got that dopamine hit when I would see the ad numbers where I'd be like, holy crap.
We found one.
We cracked the code. Like there's such a when you see a ROAS number of like 4+ hold, or in some cases, like even like 10+ hold for like a month, you're like, it wasn't an outlier. This is so cool. And I think that like for creative teams that are struggling and maybe being like, oh, this isn't inspiring, or it's not art anymore. But like that to me is a good, like, if you can make that connection with the data and seeing the progress when they take this approach of like, let's just figure out how to like get this thing to work no matter what and try all sorts of different things that may take different shapes and forms than if you were to just keep it in a creative silo. That can actually encourage that behavior of like, oh man, yeah, we'll have this creative idea, but if it doesn't win, that doesn't matter to me. Let's try lots of different stuff. And if this one wins, sweet. We're doing our job and the company's growing, that sweet drug of like seeing progress, I think can, in my opinion, I think it can squash out like creative squabbles like pretty quick. If they're just like, sweet, it worked. We're doing our job. We're winning for the company. We're winning for our client, because really that's what it all comes down to. Totally. Well, cool. We've taken way too much of your time, Mark. This has been like a whirlwind, man. We just cruised through that.
Yeah, we did it.
Well, appreciate you coming on the podcast and kind of giving us your huge treasure trove of 15+ years of marketing experience. It's so valuable to hear people like you who've gone through so many different evolutions of like web D2C marketing and kind of getting your perspective on where we are now. I think hopefully it's been very helpful for the audience, and I honestly, it's one of those things I just enjoy talking to you about. It's just fun.
It's been fun.
So
appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks. So appreciate it for joining us. Until next time, see you later.
Thank you for watching Raising Unicorns!
Subscribe now.